And in recent years, Nigeria's capital market has evolved into a significant driver of economic growth, attracting both local and international investors. However, as the market continues to expand, ensuring that investors' rights are adequately protected is more critical than ever. The need for strong investor protection mechanisms has become a focal point in fostering market trust, enhancing transparency, and encouraging further investment. Well, joining us to discuss now, we have Dr. Imomotimi Agama, as the Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission. Joining me from our Abuja studio. Great to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, Daddy.
So definitely a lot to unpack today, but, break it down for me. What will you say are the key regulations, governing investor protection in Nigeria's capital market in, 2025? I know we've seen so many changes, coming from the previous years, but talk to me about what's happening in 2025 and how effective, are they at protecting investors in Nigeria?
Well, thank you again. This is a great opportunity to speak to Nigerians and indeed international investors that are interested in investing in the Nigerian capital market. Investor protection is more or less a holy creed for the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Investment and Securities Act 2007 clearly spells out the objectives of securities regulation in Nigeria. And for whatever it's worth, investor protection and market development are the twin objectives of that law. And indeed, for any market to succeed, it is important that investor protection is at the front burner for any market to succeed. Nigeria is not an exception. The SEC in the year 2025 has decided, to say clearly to everyone that is involved in this market that that sacred responsibility that we have been given by virtue of the appointment of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it is important to state clearly that every investor in Nigeria is under the cover of the SEC as long as the person operates within the Nigerian capital market. And so the year 2025 is a year where we will say that there is zero tolerance for any activity that does not fall within the laws of the Investment and Securities Act 2007. I'm sure it will interest you to note that the National Assembly has passed the new Investment and Securities Act. We are earnestly waiting for the president's assent as it's going through administrative process to get to the president to get it assented to. And that alone also signifies our intention to make sure that everyone that is investing in this market or intends to invest in this market has a cover. That cover runs across so many lines. Particularly, let me mention that Ponzi schemes will no longer be a place where people will be fettering, where people will be interested in, because the penalties in the new ISA, towards people that are engaged in Ponzi scheme is stiff enough to deter them. But beyond all of that, we're emphasizing that compliance is important and disclosure is also important, being the cardinal objectives of securities regulation. And so everyone that is in this market intends to be in this market and we want to collaborate with us in developing the market knows very well that investor protection is at the front burner. We are going to, as much as possible, deal with all of these situations within the ambit of the law. And so what you have been seeing most recently by the revocation of licenses, by the suspension of operators, and of course, by our follow-up to operators that are not registered with the SEC, it's only a tip on the iceberg as to what we intend to do in the year 2025.
All right.
We believe strongly that a protected investor is a powerful investor. So and we will do everything within the powers of the SEC and the Nigerian law to make sure that we deter any unscrupulous persons who are involved in trying to defraud Nigerian investors.
Right, and definitely we know that from 2024 coming into 2025, it's definitely not been easy, being an investor, in any market. But now we're seeing this new announcement, from your commission about naming and shaming, publicly capital market operators found guilty of violating market laws and regulations. Why is the SEC taking this approach, at this time? And is it getting harder, to get compliance, from most of these players in the market?
Yes, like you are aware, the world over, things are changing. And so we also have to change with the things that are changing the world over. As much as possible, we want a market that everyone can trust, a market that everyone is confident with, a market that has integrity, a market that is transparent. That's the only way we can encourage domestic investors and indeed international investors into this market. But while we're doing that, we also want to put responsibility on the operators in this market to say, look, you have a responsibility, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the investor and to the Nigerians as a whole to make sure that what you are doing is something that is properly done, that is within the laws of this country. And as such, you do not have any intention to misrepresent the Nigerian capital market, neither do you have an intention to defraud unsuspecting investors in this market. We believe strongly that with a population of 220 million and above, Nigerians deserve the best capital market for which we can develop our economy, we can grow the economy, and we can redistribute wealth to everyone. The capital market is a place where opportunities does exist. But for that opportunity actually to be captured properly and for people to enjoy the opportunities we are speaking to, it means that the market operators themselves, and including the regulators as ourselves, must do all that is within our powers to show to the people that we are there to protect them. And by so doing, we are going to bring more persons into the market, and those persons will have the benefit of enjoying the gains of the market. The market has been seeing, some very, very positive results most recently. We believe that this is just the beginning of the good things that will happen in this market. But before that happens, we also need to give confidence to the investors to say there is no market operator that indulges in unscrupulous things that will be let go. So it's important that as a form of self-regulation, they are aware beforehand that if you do what is not right, the SEC will bring you out to the wall to say that you do not have character. Because the very, very ethos of regulating or of registering a securities market operator is in the principle of the fit and proper persons test. And fit and proper persons test means that you satisfy all of the requirements that has been laid down in the ISA and in other regulations that the SEC has brought out to make sure that this happens. Disclosures by public companies will be very, very essential, making sure that the investor has enough information to make decisions. If information is not provided, then that will be against the rules and regulations of the SEC and indeed the Investment and Securities Act. So clearly for us, it is getting people to understand that there is no hiding place anymore for anybody that has an intention to defraud Nigerians and to defraud anybody that is investing in this market.
Right, and definitely we've got a couple of results from listed companies so far in the first quarter of 2025 for their Q4 earnings and 2024 full year earnings. But from what you've seen so far from these results, how transparent are listed companies in disclosing financial and non-financial information to investors? Are you impressed with what you've seen so far?
Well, the word impressed may be very subjective. As a regulator, my function and my responsibility is to make sure that I provide a level playing field and an enabling framework for every market operator, every public company to excel. We will do everything within our power to encourage, to assist, to advise, and, of course, make sure that people meet compliance, because that is very critical. And that's why we have the department called the Financial Standards and Corporate Governance Department at the SEC. We are strengthening that department to making sure that analysis are done swiftly, promptly, and providing feedback. And where we find that there is culpability in any form with the companies, we certainly will do what we need to do as regulators. The Nigerian government, the president, has empowered us to do these things, and we must do it for the benefit of Nigerians, and that is why we are there.
All right, so, definitely these measures, to ensure compliance, with disclosure requirements and, violations so far, even though sometimes we see, some of these stringent measures to protect investors, but we still find out that, some of these players still find ways, to take advantage of the investor. Do you think these measures will get more stringent, going forward in 2025, to protect investors?
Yes, the old proverbs about Kennedy bed. If the hunter, learns to shoot without stopping, the Kennedy bird will also learn to fly without passion. For us at the SEC, no matter how they go about it, we are going to make sure we go after everyone that does not want to do the business the right way. And so, but in all of this, one of the things we will do more at the SEC this year, 2025, is to educate more persons, is to provide financial literacy, is to engage more, is to discuss with stakeholders. So we encourage everyone who has information to share with the SEC in strict confidence, and we'll do what we need to do to making sure that everybody falls in line. It's a responsibility that we have been given as a team at the SEC, as a board. The board is giving us full support to making sure that this happens. The Minister of Finance, the Ministers of Finance, that's the CMA and the Minister for State, are fully behind us because we've been given a target. The target is make sure that this market works. The Nigerian capital market from now on is a market that will be a solutionist market, a market that provides support to government policies, a market that provides support to Nigerians in creating and building wealth, a market that provides support for investors to know that clearly that their monies are in safe hands. And of course, they have somebody helping them to watch over the situation as we move on. So we believe clearly that it's an opportunity for Nigerians to come back to the market and to enjoy the benefits of the market so that we can, as a market, provide solutions to the myriad of problems, especially in regards to infrastructure development and all of that, in order for us to have a better economy and, of course, meet the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
Right. And Dr. Gama, I know one major issue that's plagued many markets in years, so far is you find out that some investors that have information before the wider investing public, and they're able to, front run the market. So what mechanisms are in place to detect and prevent insider trading, market manipulation, and other forms of market abuse this year?
Yeah, again, thank you so much. The SEC and the African Development Bank are in cooperation to provide a world-class surveillance tool for the SEC and the Nigerian capital market. That certainly will happen in the second quarter of the year 2025. That is very, very important to us because it helps us to electronically detect manipulations, front-running, and fraud in the market abuse. All of these, tools will be available for us to be able to do that in order to keep this market safe. Market manipulation is a global issue, and for us at the Nigerian capital market, we are taking it very, very seriously. We are training our staffs to be better at detecting those frauds. And for your information, we are also, moving towards employing predictive and generative AI solutions to be able to achieve this. So we are not resting on our hours, And we are getting the support that we need to be able to do so, but we also need other support as much as possible. As Nigerians, we all have a responsibility to do what we need to do, provide information, support each other in making sure that our market grows bigger and better, and of course, it is accepted, nationally and internationally. So be rest assured that the team at the SEC, as appointed by Mr. President, is up to the task, and we'll do our best to achieving the goals that Mr. President has set for us.
Right. So definitely, I know one major headache with SECs all over the world right now is cryptocurrency regulation, digital currencies and all of that. And we see in Nigeria now, we're starting to get some, companies operate with licenses, if you're an virtual asset provider. What are you seeing, so far when it comes to, regulating that space in Nigeria? Is it getting easier, for you, or is it still quite, tough, getting a grasp of that industry?
Well, I'm sure you are aware that I'm a very, very interested party in the digital space. And so things that relate to the virtual asset service providers and digital asset space are very, very important to me. It is very important to know that it's a space that you cannot run away from. You can also see that internationally it's beginning to gain more attention. The United States most recently just provided a reserve for digital assets, for cryptocurrencies. And here in Nigeria, we had long started this business as far back as 2020, where we made the clarification and definition of what we are speaking to. We have moved over to creating regulations on virtual asset service providers long before now, and subsequently, in the year 2024, we went ahead, to introduce the RIP and the ROI, which is the regulatory incubation and the accelerated regulatory incubation programs. These are means and ways to be able to deal with this animal. Or I call it an animal, I call it, people say it is an amoeba because it is almost shapeless. But why do we need to do that? We need to understudy exactly how the animal behaves in order for us to be able to provide strong regulations, and that is happening. We had issued a new regulation, which is actually on exposure last year also, so that people can see the evolving nature of the regulation in the virtual asset service provider space. Will you say it is getting more difficult? No. Will you say it is getting easier? No. But what is important is that at SEC, what we are doing is to add more knowledge to ourselves in order for us to be stronger and better, because it is important that we are. And understanding the market is critical. Understanding the concept of cryptocurrency, digital assets, and everything under that space is very, very vital and important. It is, very costly, but we are doing what we are doing. But beyond all of that, what is even more important in the Nigerian space is the collaboration between the agencies of government that are, involved in it. The Office of the National Security Advisor, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the FIROS, the NFIU. These are critical stakeholders that are collaborating and cooperating to making sure that we provide.
All right, we definitely see some freezing there, but we did see the Director General there trying to, all right.
Our youths anyway, and so the youths are more involved in this. And Mr. President is very concerned about the youths and about what they do, and so it's important that we provide a level playing field for them. We have done what we call major regulations and major licenses. And as we move forward, definitely we are going to provide more information to making sure that nobody is actually stifled and the level playing field is provided for everyone to operate, and the ones that are qualified without any inhibition.
All right, definitely a lot to look out for in 2025. We see the first quarter almost over, going into the second quarter now. But thank you so much, Dr. Imamotimi Agama, Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission. It was great having your perspective today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.